Hi, this is Paul from the Comic Rush. Welcome to the Patreon. This is a sort of temporarily exclusive video for you Patreon guys. Obviously, thank you very much for supporting the way you do. It's always really appreciated. But we will be putting this out closer to the release of the film we're going to be talking about, which is Thunderbolts. We haven't seen the film yet. This is just a bit of fun, which I'll explain in a moment once my good co-host comes on. Let's get her on now. Liz.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm great. Yep.
It's been
excited.
Weeks since we've done one of these.
I know.
What was the last thing we did? We did something a few weeks ago, and I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. It was Captain America. Come on.
Oh yeah. God, yeah. Which debuts on Disney Plus in a few weeks, I think. So you can revisit that joy again, and then revisit us crying about it. So this is. We should explain. I'll get the title of the video up. This is a 24 panels per second special Thunderbolts theories. So what we're doing is a bit different. We don't often do this, although if people out there like it, we might sort of come back on and start doing more of these. This is basically going to be our theories on what we think is going to happen in Thunderbolts. Because there's been a ton of like speculation on this movie. Who's in it? Who's not in it? What is it going to be about? And we've actually shared a few theories between ourselves.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which isn't something. Do you do this a lot on your own? Like, do you come up with when a new Marvel movie is coming out? Because I don't often do it. I mean, I know we used to do it all quite a lot. But do you often kind of sit there thinking up, oh, maybe it's going to be this, maybe it's going to be that?
Yeah. Depending on... No. Especially depending on how excited I am for the movie. This one's I'm really excited for this one. Like of the 2025 Marvel films, this is the one I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite well. I mean, I'm kind of always, as I said, these days I don't get super excited. I get interested, and I'm interested in this a lot. I'm really interested in Fantastic Four, which is another one we might come back and talk about. But this is just a bit of fun, really, for us and for you guys. We should say up front, of course, because it's all speculation, we may inadvertently spoil something. So if you prefer to be completely unspoiled, as much as I hate to say this, don't watch the podcast, just or listen to the podcast.
Yeah, we don't know anything. Like,
we don't. Yeah, we
have no knowledge, beyond anyone else. But I also think I've got some great theories. So, if I'm dead right, then, I don't want to spoil it for you.
And naturally, I think all Liz's theories are rubbish. And it's me that's got all the goods. Some of these are based on things we've read. Some of them are kind of based on our own conjecture. It is just a bit of fun, guys. Like, we don't, as seriously as we take these movies when they're coming up, don't take it super seriously. It is just a bit of fun. So we just wanted to get together and do this. I've got no real images for the movie because it is all conjecture. I'm sure you guys can Google and have a look up, look at who's who in the movie and who we mean when we talk about certain characters. So Liz, do you have a theory to kick us off with, or do you want me to start?
Why don't you get us kicked off? I think we're going to go through a bunch of different stuff, I would imagine. Because this film is it's particularly good for speculation, I think, because it's shrouded in a certain amount of mystery. There's a lot of questions that people have about it. That won't be answered until it comes out.
So one I heard recently was that Geraldine Vishwanathan, I can't pronounce names, as we know, is playing or going to be playing Songbird in the movie, but in a kind of very early form. Now she was the replacement for Ao Edibiri, who had to drop out, I think, because there was lots of kind of rescheduling going on with the film due to the strikes and things like that. And the same with Stephen Young, who was supposed to play the Sentry. He also had to drop out. And the theory is that she's going to be playing Songbird. Now, I don't know how much to put into this. Songbird is not a character that I know from. Is it Songbird or Mockingbird? Songbird. Yeah, it's not a character I really know from the comics that much. But the theory is that's the character she's going to be playing.
Okay. I mean, so you know what the basis for that is, right? In the film, she plays Val's assistant, I think.
Right.
And her name is Mel, which is the name of the character who is part, Songbird, of the original Thunderbolts team.
Right. Okay.
And I think it may just be that's like a wink and a nod, like when you had a character called Felicity in Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know, it might be just that, where it's like, oh, I think I know who you are.
To be fair, that character, that actor was supposed to be
Black Cat. Eventually.
Yeah.
But I think it could be just this wink and nod, like, oh, okay, if you know who this character is, then here's a little wink at you, but maybe you don't need to know that. I have the feeling she's not going to be developed much more than that in this film, because we've already got like a stacked cast of characters, to contend with.
There's one thing I noticed in the new trailer. So they've just released the final trailer. Which is kind of a very kind of emotional, gut punchy kind of.
The trailers have been so good.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the trailers. And in that there is a phone call between Mel and Bucky, although it could just be edited to make it look like they are talking to each other, where Mel says, "I grew up with the Avengers. And now they're gone, so nobody's coming to save us." And then Bucky says, "I think we're going to be the ones that are coming."
Yeah.
And that is interesting, because is he talking to Mel? Is she going to be drafted into the team right at the end, and we just don't know yet? Is he just talking about him and the Thunderbolts?
Right.
We don't know. But just that kind of, once I read that theory and looked at that scene, I was like, oh, hold on, yeah, maybe. So there is that. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and like the trailers, like, they have given us, like, what we think to be, a 6-person team already, sort of.
Well, have they? I mean, 5.
Well, I mean, okay, so, yeah, by your count. But
okay, so I count. Just to be clear, I just want to be.
This is something I wanted to talk about, because it actually relates to that final trailer.
Is it 6 or is it 5?
So is it 6 or is it 5?
Let's double check. I've got to actually count on my fingers.
No. Here, let me get into it first.
Go on.
So in the original iteration of this Asterix, which is like something, obviously we're going to talk about this. This is a big talking point about this movie. So so originally no Asterix. Then a little further down the line, they introduced this Asterix that everybody's speculating about. So in the promotional imagery, there is one logo with the Asterix it's just the Asterix, and it's 6 points with each team member in one of the points. So Bucky, Elena, Ghost, US Agent, Red Guardian, and Taskmaster.
Yeah.
In the current final trailer, they introduce a 5-pointed Asterix. So,
right, okay.
but no characters in it, no, nothing like that, but only 5. And we keep seeing the trailers pare back and pare back and pare back the role of Taskmaster. So, that's something that a lot of fans are speculating about. Okay, so, the big fan theory is like they're going to kill Taskmaster.
Yeah.
When we see her in the film, or in the trailers rather, we only see her during like the scene where it seems like they're all being kind of drafted in, in the early stages of the film. And all the scenes we see after that, we don't see her.
So a couple of things spring out from that theory. In fact, quite a lot of things spin out around.
Well, the big one that I want to talk about, but carry on first.
We'll get to yours right at the end.
Yeah.
Not of the show, but just of this little bit of it. In terms of her not appearing, so Olga Kurylenko played Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie. Originally, the daughter of is it Drakov? And she was kind of set free from the kind of chemical psychological prison she was in, to go off and sort of find her own destiny with the other Black Widows, the remaining Black Widows. Now, the theory I kind of most like is that, in fact, she's been edited out digitally from a lot of the trailers, and she is going to be in the film more, but has been cut, particularly in, like, there's a lift scene where they're all kind of in an elevator, and the theory is that they've kind of just digitally taken her out. So that's the first thing. And in a way, they're saving her for a much larger thing later on. I don't know what that could be, or if that's true.
Well, it is factual that they are digitally removing her from some of the imagery, because there's like a scene that played in one of the earlier trailers.
Right.
And she's like since been edited out of the same scene.
So do you think it's the case of late edits to the film?
Could be. And
they're just making changes to the movie in the same way that we got a lot of kind of recuts of Rogue One, and that caused a big sort of scandal because of reshoots. So that famous shot of the TIE fighter facing off against Felicity Jones was taken out of the film. Or could it be something else? Could it be Marvel subterfuge, just trying to kind of lead us down the garden path so we don't see what's really going on?
Sure.
What do you think? Do you think it's edits, or do you think it? What's your call now, without revealing any more of your theories? What's your call now? Do you think it's purposeful subterfuge, or changes have been made to the film?
I think it's purposeful.
Right. Okay. Now, the other theory we've got concerning Taskmaster, one of 3, so that's number 1, she'll be killed off early. Number 2 is that Taskmaster isn't going to be Olga Kurylenko, even though Olga Kurylenko is in the credits, I believe.
Yep.
There's actually going to be Melina from Black Widow.
That's another fan theory that I read. Yeah.
Right. And do you think there's any weight to that?
I think that it's possible. But I think it's. I don't think so, but that's only because I have another theory that makes much more sense.
It's okay for the theories to contradict each other, guys. As we have to remind you, we don't really know what's going to go on in this movie.
We don't.
No idea whatsoever. Lizzie's hotline to Marvel has been shut down.
I know. They stopped taking my calls. I don't know why.
Yeah, an unspecified incident. We won't go into what. I believe it involved a late night phone call to Kevin Feige, asking him why the X-Men weren't part of the MCU yet. He wasn't happy. And
what was the third one? What was the third one you had?
Well, the third one actually isn't mine; it's yours.
Oh,
So,
well, okay, all right then.
go for
Yeah,
it.
so this is like my biggest hot take when it comes to Thunderbolts theories, and you know, because to me, it's the thing that makes all the sense.
Right.
So,
Go.
ever since, yeah, let's just sit down, get a cup of tea.
Maybe a biscuit.
Yeah,
You might get
buckle
hungry.
in. Yeah.
We're going on safari. Come on.
All right. So yeah, Liz's grand theory. So back when they announced Thunderbolts, you know, I was very excited. Back when they announced, you know, that this would even be happening, I was like, oh, okay, all right. Like I think I see what they're building toward here. You know, they've just had Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know, they've taken the time to, you know, take this this fan favorite character and, you know, big him up and develop a relationship with Bucky and this, that, and the other thing. And then it's like, oh, okay, so Thunderbolts. So Zemo, clearly. You know, it's gotta be, you know, Zemo is part of the team, because who led the original Thunderbolts team but Baron Zemo? And, you know, famously, you know, if you know anything about the original Thunderbolts, the first issue had this fantastic reveal. You spend the entire first issue, you know, with this like heroic character, you know, who wears a mask completely covering their face and, you know, bands this team together. And by the end of the issue, you get this great reveal that Citizen V, this character, is actually Baron Zemo, and he's going to lead the Thunderbolts. So, you know, when they announced the cast for the movie, I was, of course, furious when they did not include Baron Zemo in the lineup. So I was just like, you know, just fuming, stewing. But then I thought, well, okay, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a surprise. Maybe they're trying to do what that original Thunderbolts issue did. Maybe they're going to hoodwink us. So, you know, and then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, okay, so who's this, you know, how could they possibly do that? How could they possibly do that and get away with it? So there is, you know, a member of the team who, you know, historically doesn't speak a word, wears a mask, a white mask that actually in this, you know, costume that they are using for the Thunderbolts movie is a white mask similar to the Citizen V mask.
Right.
And they have like gone out of their way to be really, really vague about this character and barely include them in any trailers, barely include them in any of the, you know, promotional shots, none of the interviews. There is just all this like secrecy around Taskmaster. So, you know, from what I can glean, it looks like Taskmaster is going to die early in the film, and not really play a big part in the film until maybe, you know, some twist at the end where they reappear and everyone thinks it's Olga, you know. But what if it's not? What if it is?
So to be clear, you think that Daniel Bruhl's going to slap on a pair of comedy breasts and a mask?
Dude, it's armor. It's freaking armor, man.
I know.
I'm just kidding. It's gotta be. Come on. Okay. I will, you know.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean that would make sense if they take Taskmaster out of the film early and then bring them back towards the end.
Right. I mean, like, you know, it's like you can't have introduced him in Falcon and Winter Soldier, given him like, you know, a like basically healing moment with Bucky, you know, wherein they could actually work together in the future, and not have him in mind to be part of the Thunderbolts team. The whole point of the Thunderbolts team is that it's a bunch of villains, you know, who get together to actually, you know, do some good. And that's really completely the line they were towing with his character.
Okay, so here's the problem I have with this theory.
Go on.
One, it's come from you.
So therefore, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's terrible and wrong. No. The problem I would say is that that would go against, because Taskmaster is a powered individual, and it is enhancements that make Taskmaster a powered individual. That would go against Zemo's ethos.
Well, no.
He
Here's the
does
thing.
not.
Here's the thing. I don't think he's actually going to become Taskmaster. I think he's just looking for a way to like sneak in on the team. And I do think that the film probably starts with the actual Taskmaster, who probably does, in fact, get killed, or at least get sort of secreted off. So I do think that, if he just sort of appeared at the end in the costume, did and we know he can fight because we saw him do it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's not going to be able to fight like Taskmaster, but, he can hold his own in a fight. All he would really have to do, appearing, near the end of the film, is show up, and, possibly be involved in the fight, possibly not, and then be revealed as Zemo at the end. Because I think that somehow or other he's involved in the machinations, behind the scenes. And
that is entirely possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's
I think it's a good one. I'm not sure I agree with it.
Doesn't matter. It's just a theory.
It's interesting that you bring up the asterisk, because that's what a lot of the kind of biggest speculation has been about. What does the asterisk mean? Because it is Marvel, and everything has to have meaning, of course. Now, my theory that we talked about between ourselves way back when the first trailer came out was, I said I think the asterisk is going to be, hey, this is a work in progress team name, and it's really probably not going to mean anything. And then we had a trailer a bit later on where that kind of is the case, because Red Guardian says, Thunderbolts, and someone says to him,
Bucky's like, no, and then US agents like, oh no.
Yeah.
So I mean, so they're both vetoing the name, but
now,
go on.
The popular theory is it's going to be Dark Avengers by the end. Now, I think that Val is not stupid enough to have a team called the Dark Avengers.
I agree, because the Dark Avengers were not actually called the Dark Avengers.
No.
People think of that, but they were called the Avengers.
Yeah.
Because at the time, those were the Avengers. It was Norman Osborn, reigning over the entire MCU, and he appointed his own Avengers. They were, and the book is called Dark Avengers, but the team was not. I think it'd be much more likely, and this is another theory that's kind of bouncing around, to be like the Secret Avengers,
which was exactly what I was going to say. Thank you so much for stealing the wind out of my sails there, Liz.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I'm glad I beat you to it.
Dickhead. So Secret Avengers. I think you're right. It's much more likely to be Secret Avengers. I don't think it will have anything to do with Hickman's Secret Avengers. I think it will just be them co-opting a name.
Well, there were actually Secret Avengers was not Hickman. You're thinking of Secret Warriors, but it is.
Oh, right. Okay,
it was another team basically doing covert work, which this team could absolutely be doing, because they couldn't really just go out and say, oh, we're the Avengers. They'd have to be doing Avengers like tasks, but in secret.
Right. Okay. So the next theory we've got, this is one that was suggested online, is that the Thunderbolts are in fact going to be sent in as target practice for the Sentry. So what Val is actually doing is testing the power of the Sentry by sending these guys in. I've got a different theory, which we'll go into in a bit. But they through their kind of wiles and resourcefulness managed to survive. apart from Taskmaster. How do you feel about that?
I mean, that's actually kind of interesting. It's not something that really crossed my mind. But like that's certainly plausible enough. I don't know though. I mean, for us to believe that, we have to wonder then what Val was doing, appearing at Natasha's grave to sort of, get Elaine on board and chase after, U.S. agent. And what, is it, would she go through all that trouble just to get them there for the Sentry to kill them?
Very true. Yeah, I mean, I find it a bit implausible. But that goes down to the other theory. And this is one that kind of popped into my head today as I was looking at other theories. And in fact, looking at that particular theory. So I think that we're kind of being led to believe, oh yeah, it's the Sentry is the big villain. But I don't think he is. Yeah, as such. I think it's going to be quite clearly from the trailers. I think the Void is going to be the big villain.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, but the Sentry and the Void are synonymous. They're one.
But are they? I mean, for the purposes of the film, do they have to be? I don't think they do. And I think what happens is the Void comes into being or sort of comes into play, and Thunderbolts are sent to basically recruit the Sentry and kind of separate him from the Void and have him face off against the Sentry. Because really, there's no clear way to beat the Void. I think, like, judging by how powerful he is, it's very, very kind of almost. It very much reminded me of Thanos.
I mean, yeah, the power level is like off the charts, astronomical. Yeah. So they would have to.
Yeah, you don't die. You do go into this Void, because part of the last trailer is Yelena choosing to walk into the Void,
right,
of her own volition. But I've got a feeling they'll have a way to separate those entities. Yeah.
Right.
And I think it will be about how Bob is redeemed.
Right, because
keeping with the kind of theme of redeeming these characters.
Right. So what do you think, that Bob winds up being part of the team or something? Or
I think, yeah. I think that'll be your Secret Avengers.
Okay.
And he may be your missing member of the team or next member of the team. So yeah, that's it. I mean, that just kind of popped into my head this afternoon. That's probably wrong, but I'll wait and see. Much like your theories, they're probably all wrong. And but I think, yeah, there's a possibility there that we'll kind of see the formation of as you say, the Secret Avengers.
I mean, the Sentry is such a cool character. So I was just really excited, to see how that was going to play out. I mean, he was, because we were talking about Dark Avengers before, like that whole, era of the New Avengers, like the Bendis run there, like, is all about the Sentry. Like the Sentry's, plays a huge role in that story. And the way he's defeated there is, who knows what they're going to do. But it's it's all pretty, unfortunate. Like, he's a very tragic character.
Yeah, I mean, I see. It's the character I know very little about. I mean, I know what the big central twist was from kind of back in the day, which is not something I think would be possible now. You could only do it in the pre-internet days, when you're relying entirely on written media for gossip about comics and things. And I think it's incredibly clever to see. I don't want to say too much about it now, because I'm just about to read for the first time that the Sentry the first Century volume.
Where they introduce the character.
Yeah.
Right. That's
so
really cool. I mean, it's, and like you could, do a whole podcast just talking about the history of the Sentry as a character, because it's really interesting. But obviously, I'll be curious to see how they go about it in the film, because they couldn't do the same thing in the film that they did with the comics.
You absolutely can't. Like, the only way for them to have done it would be, I think, to have released Fantastic Four first and have him pop up in there, given the time period that's set in. And I like that. I'm loving the look of, like, more and more. I'm getting kind of
more and more excited. Yeah, me too.
I think that looks great. Is that it for our theories? Is that all we had?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, because I don't tend to like read too much speculation beforehand. I like to do my own speculation, but
so Liz, this is where Liz and I separate. Liz stops watching trailers and ads for these things.
I did watch the final trailer for this.
Right.
Yeah.
I do end up watching them, of course, because when I put them up on the website, I just end up watching them. Quite often things go up without me watching them first, because I don't do a lot of the kind of, reporting around the trailers. I just put the trailer up. That's, but this, I've kind of been, I'm kind of just curious. I'm maybe it's a little bit of excitement. Maybe it's just curiosity. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm dying to see it. I'm very excited. Like I'm basically counting the days. You and I are going to talk about it, but we're not going to be able to talk about it straight away, right?
No. So unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. Well, yeah, actually, maybe unfortunately. So it's my and I'm not angling for gifts here, folks, but it's my 50th birthday on the 2 days after the film releases, but we've got a big visit coming from my girlfriend's family, so I'm going to be kind of tied up with that. So I'm not even sure if I get to see it release day. I think I might have to wait until the Thursday of that week to go and see it. But it will be the first thing I do, and then you and I are going to try and we think we're going to talk about it that Thursday, right?
Right.
Which will be, we often make plans and they go awry.
I mean, here, I think the release date here is
slightly
the
later.
2nd, right?
Yeah. So it comes out here on Thursday, the 1st of May. But that's when the family are visiting, and I think the next break I get to see it will be the 8th.
Oh.
So we won't.
Oh, Paul!
No.
Oh my God!
What can you do? It's more important. Your life outside this stuff is more important, though.
Is it though?
Yes. I strongly believe that. But I am gutted not to see it, and one thing, of course, I am really gutted about is that we can't go, get straight on one of these and start chatting to each other about it. So I've got to try and avoid spoilers for 7 whole days.
Are you sure that it's not coming out in England on the 22nd of April? Because
no. It's
okay. It looks like it's coming out in different parts of the world on the 22nd of April.
Yeah. It's probably. I mean, that's also another thing. If they release it in different places,
I know
it's
spoilers.
It's going to be impossible to avoid spoilers. I can't stay offline for that time.
I'll kill anyone who tells me anything about it.
Didn't you once threaten to kill someone?
Yeah.
In the shop because they were in the middle of, they were about to drop a spoiler.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I did come very close. Would have been fully deserved.
Slight overreaction, but yeah, it is annoying. It is annoying. I know someone who got when The Force Awakens came out. because like I wasn't working in the cinema then, but I knew plenty of people who still were working in the cinema. And one of the guys at the popcorn counter got completely spoiled on it, like within a day or so, because he hadn't had a chance to watch it yet. Because quite often when you're working it, so you don't get a chance to see the films when other people do. And some guy went, "Oh, I can't believe they killed Han Solo," and he was just like, "For fuck's sake, man, come on! Like, what the fuck?" Like,
that's just cruel.
I remember being in a coffee shop once where, on a much smaller scale, someone was talking about the film, "The Skin I Live In," the Pedro Almodovar film, which is apparently a very twisty turn. I've still not seen it to this day because of this prick. And there were these two guys just having this very loud conversation. And it was just like, oh, yeah, and then this happened, and then that, and it was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm so tempted just to throw my coffee at them. What are you doing?
The lack of self-awareness,
It does bring up a thing about, and it ties in nicely to the Thunderbolts, about how you would keep those secrets these days, because you would not be able to keep that first issue a secret, I think.
Right. This is like, this is the only way that I can see they could do that, like hoodwink, and I think it would actually be really clever if they did it.
And the Sentry, you would not be able to keep that a secret. The sort of big twist with that, which I'll be talking about hopefully next week if I get to write about it. I hope to write about it for the website. But you would have a very hard time,
right,
keeping that a secret. And I wonder if they would have been better off, Marvel, keeping things like Downey Jr. being Doom, like completely off the radar for a few months, because they did that completely stupid thing. And we were not that stupid, because I think at one point 7 million people were watching a bunch of fucking chairs being put on a stage, which was really, when you think about it, it's the dumbest waste of your time you could ever. It's like, oh, IKEA are unveiling new furniture today. Oh, I'll just watch a live stream.
Yeah, but everybody's like, everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know.
So, and to be honest, I still haven't gone through those cast announcements, because I don't want to buy too much into that level of nonsense. But I wonder if they would have been better off revealing it then rather than when they did.
Well, I think it was pretty clever that they did what they did, because people went bananas. I think there was like this fatigue, and everyone was like, oh, I don't know if I care. And then all of a sudden it was like, bam, everyone's talking about it. Everybody's like invested again. They announced the Russo brothers are in it again. It's like, I think it did give it the shot in the arm that they wanted it to.
I mean, the Russo brothers are kind of always interesting to me, because they can't seem to make headway anywhere but Marvel. Like, that's where they produce hits, and everything else is kind of massively mediocre and disappointing. I'm not, like, I know their version of The Electric State, which as a book I absolutely adore, is out now, and I can't bring myself to watch it, because I've also seen some of their movies outside of Marvel, and quite frankly, they're not that great. They don't move me.
Okay.
They don't speak to me. And I don't know. I mean, I'm always kind of, okay.
I mean, all of their Marvel films have been fantastic.
All of their Marvel films have been fantastic. Like, I absolutely 100% agree with you there. I directed 4, and all of those were bangers.
Yeah.
And I think they can, if they're teamed with those two screenwriters, is it McFreely and Marcus? They are really good, because
we know who's writing the scripts. Well,
I've got a feeling it's those guys. Yeah. Right. And I think they are really, really good when teamed with those guys, and I think those guys in particular are very strong. And the stuff they did with Civil War, because Civil War was a film that was so good, I didn't even realize it was that good until like my third viewing of it.
Oh, it's so good.
Because initially I was just like, yeah, okay.
Really?
Like,
Wow. I
yeah,
like that film. I remember seeing it. Like the second it finished, I just wanted to watch it again
okay.
immediately.
Yeah.
Like,
it, but that wasn't the feeling I had. I was just like,
right.
okay.
Wow.
And I think I was coming off, I can't remember what was just before that. But I just and it was one of those films where I had to go back and like listen to the commentaries and watch some of the documentary stuff on it and go, oh, actually no, they I can see what they're doing now, and so in some ways a film doesn't always reveal itself to you. But I've got a feeling this is going to be fun. Thunderbolts is going to be fun at the very least. Do you have like increasingly? I mean, yeah, we talk about fatigue, but I don't think there is superhero fatigue now. I can't remember if you and I already had this conversation or if we've done it on thingy. I think I think what there is film fatigue, and I think there is an overall kind of worldwide shrug at movies now. And I think the pandemic was partly responsible for that. And I think a lot of films and film studios have had a hard time recovering from that, and therefore the output hasn't been as good. And yes, it's also to do with like the fact that some of the art is being lost. Like film is kind of artless now for me. A lot of film is anyway. And I feel like they always say, oh, get Marvel back on track, get Star Wars back on track, get this back on track. And I've got a feeling that actually none of those things will ever get back on track the way the audience seems to want them to. And I think the problem is, sorry to go into this, I think the problem is that the audience can't get itself back on track because we've all become too fragmented in our tastes. Our tastes have in a lot of ways become very niche. We're also kind of having to deal with this technology that's coming in that will give you exactly what you want. If you just type in a few prompts, you can have a film in 10 years, there'll be a film, or 5 years, there'll be a film that will look exactly the way you want because you've typed in a few prompts. And I think that's a problem with art. And so I don't think things will ever kind of get back on track fully, but I think there will be kind of these moments of kind of joy in it all where we do find our fun in it briefly, and then it will kind of come back down again, and then it'll go back up again and go back down again. And I think Thunderbolts is going to be one of those kind of up points, those upticks.
I think so. I think it will. I mean, and I think you and I both agreed like Captain America: Brave New World wasn't what we wanted it to be.
No, definitely not.
But like I always live in hope. Whether I just came off one that I didn't love as much as the other. I always I'm excited for the next one, and this one in particular, I think really appeals to me in just the conceit that it's this bunch of like kind of ragtag like former villains having to work together and having to like find their personal redemption and their purpose and their reason for trying to do better, and it's a bunch of characters that I really like, and some that I thought, oh, I'm just excited that we get to know them better. Characters like Ghost or even John Walker. It's like there's just I feel like a lot of promise in that team, and it looks increasingly from the trailers like like that's really what they're going for, is like like a redemptive arc for these characters.
I kind of hope it's 2/3 fun and 1/3 dark.
And I think that's what it looks like. Yeah. That's what it looks
and
like.
That because I think it's interesting to note that as we're moving into a world now that's increasingly grim and increasingly kind of oppressive, the art is becoming a lot more fun. So you've got Superman coming up that looks like barrels of fun.
Right. Whereas the previous Superman film was miserable.
Yeah. And
in my opinion.
Yeah, you've got Fantastic Four that looks to have a whilst it might not be fun, it'll have heart and it'll have an emotive center. And this looks like fun. And we've still got more Marvel stuff and more things to come throughout this year. Like this year is packed. I feel like every 2 minutes I'm putting something else film related up on the site, which is annoying me at the moment because I want to kind of put some comic stuff up. But yeah, I think that there's still a lot of joy to be had in the art we're watching, but I think it has become kind of fragmented and there's almost kind of too much wish fulfillment going on for the audience, and I kind of like it when the art talks to you and shows you what it wants to be, and you fall in sync with the art rather than the art falling in sync with you. Because I think that's the way around it should go. That's just me. But yeah, I live in hope that it's going to be good fun, and I'm really looking forward to Thunderbolts. Okay, just quickly, Liz, are you reading anything at the moment that you're enjoying? Have you found time for comics at all?
I think you and I both discussed, that we were enjoying Absolute Batman.
Definitely, yeah.
I've been enjoying that a lot. Ultimate Spider-Man, that's been terrific. Let's see. I'm reading One World Under Doom. That's been fun.
Is that are you doing the whole thing? Are you doing all the tie-ins or just the main series?
Well, just the main series. Just the main series. And the Thunderbolts mini.
Right. Okay. I haven't looked at the Thunderbolts mini. I am hoping to get some Thunderbolt stuff up on the website before the movie drops. For you guys to look at, including my sort of reaction to the very first Thunderbolts book, because I've never read that either. that kind of happened in the period where I wasn't reading comics for a while. So that kind of predates Kevin Smith's Daredevil, doesn't it? Yeah. Because I took a big chunk of time out where I wasn't buying comics, and then I came back on because Kevin Smith was writing Daredevil, and it's just like, oh, that's a name I know from movies. I'll try that. And I grabbed that and I started getting back into comics again. And but Thunderbolts had already happened. The Image kind of revolution boom had already happened. So I missed a whole big chunk for years on comics there.
There's a couple of Thunderbolts books that I'd really like to read that I haven't. I never read the Warren Ellis run, which is supposed to be really terrific.
Right. Okay. I wasn't even aware that he did a run on it.
Yeah. That was like, I want to say early 2000s. And there's been a lot of, there's been like loads of different iterations of the Thunderbolts team. There was a team that had Elektra and Punisher in it, and Red Hulk.
Oh, right. Okay.
That was like probably 2015, something like that. So they go pretty villainous with, some that's,
that's interesting. I'd like to kind of take a look at those, depending on, well, actually not depending on who the writer is. I'd just like to take a look. I can recommend the Thunderbolts book. I can recommend is World Strike, which was a recent one.
Yeah, I read that. That was good.
Yeah,
that's got like pretty much the movie team in it. It's got Elena, it's got Bucky,
it's got Natasha, but Natasha venomized, I believe.
Well, yeah, because that's what's going on with her in comics right now, is that she's like she has a venom symbiote.
Right. Are you excited about the about Mary Jane being venomous?
Oh my god, yeah, that's a weird one. That is such a weird one. Yeah, that is like, I was like, really though? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Not what I had in mind. Yeah, I mean, that is so bizarre. And the way I found that out was like when I was unpacking the comics, because I unpack the comics every week to do subs and to do to put them out for sale and all that. There was like a secret cover. So it actually arrived as a promo, like that I hadn't ordered or anything like that. And it wasn't listed on the invoice. It was just like, listed as promo. And it was a copy of, you know, the issue with that cover, you know, with her as Venom. And I was like, what? Like, you know, because she wasn't even one of the characters they were talking about.
No.
You know, when it was like, it was Madame Mask, it was Robbie Robertson, Rick Jones, and Luke Cage were like the, you know, the characters who you thought it could be.
The Rick Jones, everybody's favorite nearly man.
Yeah. Well, once again, didn't quite make it.
Poor Rick. Okay. I mean, that's something I'm not sure I'm kind of really. I don't follow a ton of Marvel, unfortunately. I'm trying to read more and more now, but it does. I think keeping up with Marvel is like it's like keeping up with the X-Men. Like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Sorry. I'm sure the comics are good. There's only so many hours left.
Right, yeah, you know, you got to pick and choose.
Yeah. But as you say, Absolute Batman is an absolute banger. USM has been great. I've been enjoying that. I'm looking forward to catching up on Thunderbolts and the Sentry for, you know, first time reads. One thing I have been reading is plenty of other older Batman books, because we've got the Batman podcast that will be coming up later this year. We think that's going to be kind of late summer this year. We want to make sure we recorded all episodes, all Patreon episodes, ready to kind of show you guys. We've recorded a couple already.
And just to clarify, the we that we're talking about is not you and I.
It's Paul. Not you. It's not Liz. Not for any particular reason. Other than this was an idea that a friend of mine came to me with and wanted to do, and I'm doing it with him. Not to leave my.
Yeah, I see how it is.
Yeah, shut up. I guarantee you, folks, that if I tried to do a regular podcast with this, we'd get about 3 weeks in, and then it'd be, oh no, something's come up. Oh, I can't do it this week. Oh no, next week's bad. Which is also one of the reasons I've insisted that we record all the episodes of this podcast before they go out. So in some ways, you know, she's taught me a valuable lesson. But yeah, that's coming soon. Sorry, the reason I'm looking over there is I'm looking at the next book I've got to read for that podcast. And I really hope you guys enjoy that. One of the features of that podcast, sorry, Liz, I'll let you go in a minute. I know this is completely boring for you. One of the features of that podcast will be all the episodes are themed, but we're not going to tell you what books are corresponding to that theme. You're just going to have to take your chances, and you, the audience, will get to pick what theme we do each week, and that's the episode we'll put up for you. I really hope you enjoy that, and I really hope you get behind it, because I do want to do more comic-centric podcasting this year and more regular podcasting, which, you know, it takes a bit of time to build up a catalogue of stuff to put out. And of course, I really look forward to doing more podcasts with Liz and listening to all her wild, crazy, and incorrect theories on films.
Her wildly correct theories.
I'll be so like, can you imagine?
What should we bet? I think we should bet something. If I'm right about the Zemo theory, you have to, I don't know.
What I want you to do is I want you to picture a cinema in Norfolk. In about 3 weeks' time, when the movie comes out, or when I get to see it, and it all goes quiet, and Taskmaster pulls a mask off to reveal Baron Zemo, and all you'll hear is from somewhere near the front row, an old man going, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Yep, she was right again.
Damn you, Jordan! What should we bet? I don't know. What do you? Come on, Liz. What would you prize more than anything else?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
respect.
Well, I mean, I've already got that. Something I don't have. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to do one of the podcasts wearing a really stupid hat or something like that. I don't know.
I don't own any hats.
Well, you'd have to
don't
buy one. I mean,
fucking buying a hat just for this podcast.
I don't know. I'll think about it.
But yeah, we'll have a little flutter on the podcast to see who's right. It'll be really curious just to see. Like I actually think that none of the theories would be correct, which in a way would be worse, because can you imagine if you go in and it's a kind of totally bland experience and there's no kind of sort of excitement to it? That would be horrible. That would be absolutely horrible.
They're not going to do that.
You can make me read something I really don't want to read. You can make me read a comic.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
I'd really loathe.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, so I guess if I'm wrong, is that what I have to do?
Oh yeah, I might make you do you might try and pick something you really don't want to read and do a podcast on it.
Okay, that sounds fair. Yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, I hope it's fun. I'm looking forward to doing the podcast with you at some point in early May. And sorry that's not going out.
Yeah, it looks like it. I just checked. It does look like I can see it on the 1st here as well.
Yeah. I mean,
I
don't know. I'll have to kind of see if I can sneak away and see it. But I think it'll be a bit rude in the middle of family lunch. I'm just off for about 3 hours.
They won't notice.
It is my birthday, Liz. I think they'll notice. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and as always, looking forward to chatting with you about it, Liz. And we'll have Fantastic Four and Superman coming up sort of later in the summer as well. So I'm really excited about doing those as well. So yeah, it's going to be a busier year than last year. We didn't podcast at all really last year.
I know. Well, last year was a weird one, but this year we've got a lot to talk about. So
cool. Right. Folks, thanks for watching. Remember, this video originally went out on the Patreon. If you want to join the Patreon, you can do that from £2 a month. That helps support the ad-free, AI-free, pop-up-free website that is the Comic Crush, where you'll get reviews, trailers, posters, all that kind of stuff. I would love it if you guys supported. Thank you to everyone who is supporting already. It really means a lot to me every month that you guys kind of dole out for that. That's and we hope to have more content on this Patreon for you this year. So thanks very much, Liz. Thank you for doing this. It's been wonderful as always. And we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
If I can get out the podcast, it's not working.